Welcome to ShareTreck. This is Raj here. And friends, as you know, I have been telling you always that Crispr Therapeutics is my top pick among the genomics companies. So in the last few days, I have been trying to estimate how much they may probably earn using Casgevy. They get around 40% of the profit. So therein lies the problem in making an estimation, because we don't know what's going to be the cost of manufacturing Casgevy. But we have certain bits and pieces of information available. And also I had heard that there were approvals given by Saudi Arabia, by UK. So I thought, why not make a video of all my findings? So in this video, what you're going to find is what is the market size of Casgevy. In that, I'm going to cover all the countries where it has been approved so that we can get an overall market size wherever possible, and wherever possible, we can get a specific size of the market of eligible patients. So if we know how many of them are eligible and able to afford it. So that's the other thing I'm covering. We also get an idea in this video of how big the market is and how big the entire Casgevy revenue stream could be by around 2027. We do not have figures for 2024. But I'll talk about the things that I have found out and what I think needs to happen for us to get those figures and when we will get it. So that's the overall content of this video, and this is focused purely on Casgevy. I'll do another one on CTX112 after this in the same style. So with that said, let's get started. Well, friends, welcome back. The investment story of Crispr Therapeutics is what I would call this, because right now Casgevy is the main driver which has been approved. So Crispr Therapeutics was founded in 2013 and has completed a decade of existence. And in that time, it has produced the first FDA-approved gene therapy for sickle cell disease, and soon to be approved for TDT, that is transfusion-dependent thalassemia. And that is likely to happen somewhere around end of March of this year. Emmanuel Charpentier, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in Chemistry in 2020, along with Jennifer Doudna for CRISPR-Cas9, is the founder of Crispr Therapeutics, along with Sean Foy and Roger Novak. Very well before getting the Nobel Peace Prize, somewhere around 2013, Crispr Therapeutics was founded. And in 2015, Samarth Kulkarni joined the company as Chief Business Officer. And after that, very shortly after that, Samarth Kulkarni became the CEO in 2017. And since then, he has been CEO of Crispr Therapeutics. And I started covering Crispr Therapeutics just two years ago, I think. So here's a little background about Samarth. He received a PhD in bioengineering and nanotechnology from the University of Washington and a BTech from the Indian Institute of Technology. He then was a partner at McKinsey & Company in the pharmaceutical and medical products practice, and a few other senior roles gave him significant expertise in strategy and operations in biotech. And the most important part of this story is a good management that has been focused and delivered in a consistent and predictable manner with just the right amount of communication and expectation management. That's how I would summarize CRISPR's management, and especially under the stewardship of Samarth Kulkarni. And that's the reason why I'm a great fan of Crispr Therapeutics. Next, I'll try to quantify the revenue stream. So I'm going to focus on Casgevy. So Casgevy for sickle cell disease, according to their publication, will cost $2.2 million per patient. We do not have approval for TDT. So right now I'm going to talk about SCD only. Estimating the size of the market is kind of fuzzy, because the eligible pool of sickle cell disease patients is around 16,000 in the US. The total number of Americans with SCD is 100,000. So this is where I have a clear picture of the number of patients and those who are eligible. Elsewhere, we do not have that kind of a breakup. The total number of patients in UK with sickle cell disease, I have sourced this information from Oxford Academic, and the number is around 14,000 in UK. And in the EU, it's around 52,000. And the total number in Saudi Arabia, again, is a challenge, because most of the studies that I have seen talk about a percentage of population. So The range is between 2.4 to 3.6% of the total population, and the southern part seems to have a much higher incidence. So I've taken just 2.4% to be conservative, and the population of Saudi Arabia, according to census in 2021, was 36 million, which gives us a number of 864,000, which is pretty high. So I was looking for some other estimates. So I found another estimate which is for entire Middle East. And fortunately for us, Bahrain has also approved Casgevy. So looking at the entire Middle East and North Africa kind of geography would be advisable. So with the success of Casgevy in Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, I'm anticipating that there'll be influx of patients from the other Gulf Cooperation country states. So in the Middle East, you have what is called as GCC. So members of the GCC can move freely between the borders, and there is no restrictions for them. So GCC countries would be Sultanate of Oman, UAE, then Abu Dhabi, and Bahrain, and all those. So GCC allows for those kind of travel, and they're all wealthy, high per capita countries. So once it gets started in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, I'm pretty sure that a lot of wealthy clients from the other GCC countries will also travel across to get this treatment done. So there could be approximately 225 patients in the Middle East and North Africa region. So I would consider 225,000 as the total target patient population. I don't know among them how many will be eligible because we don't have information about how Saudi Arabia and Bahrain will go about deciding to subsidize the treatment, and how many high net worth individuals are there with SCD who would be able to afford the treatment on their own. So I'm going to leave it there. But suffice to say that it's a huge population that we are talking about overall. So the size of the market is supposed to be pretty big. I'll also talk dollar numbers as we proceed further in this video. But first, we need to understand how long the treatment is going to take, what are the logistics involved before we talk about the money. So first, the patients have to receive blood transfusion to minimize the number of sickle cells in circulation. This does not need hospitalization if it was just one transfusion, but this requires multiple transfusions over a period of months and prepares the patient to be able to have enough stem cells to be harvested. Now, the place where you have to stay in the hospital would be for a week or so. So while the transfusion happens, the patient can just go to the hospital, get the transfusion done, and then go back home. But when they start harvesting the stem cells, the patient has to stay in the hospital for a week for the stem cell collection to happen. And this seems to be an involved process. And the hematopoietic stem cells collected from the patient are then sent to the lab. The lab will take approximately 4 to 6 months to make the necessary modification and do quality control and whatever is needed to create a dose of Casgevy ready for infusion into the patient. And then it can't be immediately infused into the patient. This is where a bit of project management can come into play. But I think it's the experts who will decide how to do it. So I think there is a bit of overlap possible to reduce the duration of the treatment, because 2 weeks of chemotherapy is needed to kill the cells that make faulty hemoglobin and to clear space in the bone marrow for the modified cells, which is Casgevy cells, to get engrafted into the bone marrow. For this, the patient has to be hospitalized for those 2 weeks. Now, it is possible that if there is good coordination and they know when the Casgevy infusion dosage will be ready, they could work backwards, and based on that, they could start the radiation a bit early, so that when the radiation therapy is completed and the patient is ready to receive Casgevy, there will be Casgevy available to be put into the patient. And now this portion needs a lot of hospital support because as the radiation works, as the chemotherapy works in the body and starts killing all these cells, the patient's immune system is compromised. So they have to be kept safe. They have to be kept away from all kinds of infection. That's also another reason why they have to be hospitalized. And they cannot be let out of the hospital until the Casgevy cells get engrafted and start producing blood cells and immune cells, and the patient's immune system starts to come back. And once the immune system starts come back, then they can go. So this takes around a month after the intravenous fusion for a typical patient to be able to generate enough immune cells so that they can be allowed to go home. The patient will have to take oral medication for 3 months following that. And after that, the patient is expected to be able to live a life devoid of VOE that they used to experience earlier. VOE is vascular occlusive events, which are those painful events where all the sickle cells get mangled and transfusion is needed. So that is the involved nature of this therapy. So I would venture to say that the duration could be anywhere between 9 to 12 months, depending on how well the logistics is handled and how smoothly everything goes. If there is any snag anywhere and something has to be repeated, that could take a little extra time. So a conservative estimate would be 9 months, and a liberal estimate, I think, would be 10 or 11 months. So if that is the duration, then the question becomes, how is the payment going to be made? So that's another reason why estimating revenue is going to be a concern. But before we go there, let us also talk about patient concerns. Patients have several concerns, and those concerns can be answered thanks to clinical trial data as well as scientific knowledge of what can and cannot happen in certain procedures. The questions range from concerns about getting leukemia due to off-target edits, and another concern is around fertility loss and long-term effects. So those are the key concerns that patients have. And I'm pretty sure that one of the questions the patients would ask is how long does the treatment take and what is involved in it. So there'll be a whole litany of questions out there which can be answered for the therapy. Now, if a patient accepts everything and then they are able to pay for it, and then they become a eligible patient, and everything gets started from that point. So there's a whole lot of logic diagram that we have to go through before we can say, yeah, we have an eligible patient. Now coming to payment capability, a large payer who covers around 100 million Americans has signed up for Casgevy, same like Bluebird. Bluebird has also got a similar arrangement. And we do not have information about what is the arrangement in Europe and UK, but UAE and Bahrain may be able to afford the treatment for their citizens, but we do not know of any programs so far, what kind of programs they have, what kind of eligibility cutoff they may have. And also there will be high net worth individuals in these Gulf countries who can afford the treatment on their own without any state support. So those are all the considerations that we have to keep in mind while we are doing revenue estimates. According to Bloomberg, Casgevy sales should be around $1 billion by 2027. So around 2027, that is around another 3 more years. So according to global data, a CAGR of around 56% is estimated between 2023 to 2029 for gene and cell therapy. So if we were to take that CAGR and work backwards from 2027, we can arrive at a number. But I don't think that will gel with where we are at this point of time, because I suspect the first patients could not be treated for at least somewhere around February or something, early February. And when they start getting treated, we don't know how the payment is going to be made. So working it backwards is not going to help us. It will be difficult to estimate sales until we get some data from Vertex or Crispr in the third quarter. And why I say third quarter is because by that time we would have both SCD and TDT data available to us. Potentially Vertex could give us estimates for TDT as well based on the uptake of SCD. And also they will be aware of production bottlenecks, if any. They have got 2 manufacturers. I'll talk about them as we proceed further in the video. So they are trying to broaden the pipeline for easy processing so that there is no bottleneck. They're already working on it. But given that we need 9 to 12 months to administer Casgevy, so what will be the payment plan? We also want to know what is the deal with the outcome-based payment that Crispr has agreed to. We need to understand what is the promise that has been made. 2 years of no VOEs, or 1 year of no VOE, or 5 years of no VOE. And if VOE does happen within that period, how much of the money will be refunded? How much do they pay upfront? How much do they pay at the end? Or do they wait for 2 years, and if they have no VOE at the end of 2 years, they pay the balance? We don't know any of those details. So we therefore need more information before we can make estimates. So that said, Vertex is selling outside of US and has signed up with Charles River, a longtime partner of Vertex, to manufacture Casgevy. We also now have news that Roslin CT will manufacture for patients in US and UK. And these manufacturing tie-ups can ensure timely manufacture of Casgevy. Once the first 50 patients are processed, I think the system will get streamlined, and that could improve margins as well as efficiency, as well as turnaround time. So they could have standard operating procedures put in place. They could have best practices for collection, patient administration, transportation, manufacturing, quality control, transporting back, implementing it on the patient, and the whole process. Everywhere they could have best practices and standard operating procedures, everything refined and optimized so that the turnaround time and everything will improve. Patient experience will also improve. And it could also allow for better acceptance of Casgevy across the eligible population. So that's what I think is going to happen. Looking forward, I think CRISPR will have to focus on improved gene editing technologies and port its therapies to more accurate and safe gene editing technologies like prime or base editing. I'm saying that because double-strand cuts have their own risks, and at this point of time, FDA has given approval basically because there is no other therapy available and something is better than nothing. I'm not berating Casgevy. All I'm saying is that if Casgevy doesn't move into prime or base editing or some other more accurate and reliable gene editing method and move away from double-strand breaks, it will have a problem because there will be other therapies that will probably implement the same methods, but using base or prime editing. That is my personal opinion, and I suppose we should hear from CRISPR and Vertex maybe 6 months down the line if they have any such things in their pipeline. I bet they do, but I don't know when they might announce it. That said, the other consideration is that LifeGenia, which is the competitor, is priced $1 million higher, as well as got black box warnings for cancer. So that gives Casgevy a leg up, in my opinion. And the next catalyst for CRISPR and Vertex is going to be on 30th of March 2024, when approvals for TDT will be potentially granted. And once that is granted, suddenly the market size expands and the eligibility pool also expands. After that, another catalyst awaits CRISPR and Vertex, and that will happen when the approval is given for treatment with Casgevy for people who are 12 years and below, or for pediatrics. And the date for that is not yet clear. Once I find that out, I'll let you know. And with almost $2 billion in cash and a strong partnership, a strong set of partnership and an approved gene therapy in the market, CRISPR has laid a strong foundation on which to build a blue chip future. This is a long-term investment candidate in my portfolio because not only will they get milestone payments, but they will also get 40% of profits on Casgevy for SCD and TDT. And over and above that, now they have full interest in the diabetes therapy, CTX, I think it is CTX 110 or 111. And that's going to be a big deal because that's well advanced in clinical trials, and that could get monetized. And over and above that, they have a team which is, I think, scouting for partners for the rest of their pipeline. So if they get any other partner for the rest of the pipeline, their cost will be distributed, risk will be distributed, and potentially they'll share the profits. That's a better way to go forward. So I'm looking forward to all those things. And with that in mind, I think this is a long-term candidate for the portfolio. Of course, I have to give my disclaimer. This is my personal opinion and not financial advice. So please do your own due diligence. This edition, as you can see, was focused on Casgevy. The next one will focus on CTX 112. So please subscribe and press the notify button if you do not want to miss that video. And after that, I'll have a video on their diabetes, type 1 diabetes therapy, which also is now fully owned by CRISPR Therapeutics. So there's a lot of interesting video on CRISPR that you'll see in this channel. So please subscribe, press the notify button. And if you have any friends who are interested in gene therapies and genomics investments, or suffer from sickle cell disease, type 1 diabetes or anything, Send them a link to this channel. Ask them to subscribe. Thanks and have a great day. Bye for now.